Well, let's bring in Mitchell Epner now. He's a former federal prosecutor who spent time prosecuting sex offenders. Mitchell, a very good evening to you. You have gone through some of these emails. What stood out to you this evening?
So the biggest thing that came out in these emails is that the proffer session that Ghislaine Maxwell did with Mr. Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, to great fanfare, and they released 2 days of transcripts, makes it pretty clear that Ghislaine Maxwell either lied or didn't remember the truth when she denied that she had discussions or conversations or communications with Epstein about Trump and his connection to all of this. That 2011 email about the dog that has not barked is pretty damning. And in my training and experience, a potential cooperating co-defendant like Ghislaine Maxwell would be treated and should be treated like toxic waste, cabined, tightly contained, because they could destroy everything that surrounds them. It appears to me that thus far the Trump DOJ, unlike every predecessor of both parties, is acting to protect Donald Trump and his agenda, as opposed to following the training and experience that has guided the United States Department of Justice for about 250 years.
Mitchell, we will get to the point, of course, where essentially, as you have, our previous correspondent pointed out, that there may well be a vote on all of this. But what do you make of the White House's argument that, and David was making this point, context matters here, and these are quite selective emails that may read bad in one way, but that's why you need to see the full cachet?
So context is always important, but this strikes me as a person who's been accused of murdering somebody at a sporting event saying, well, I didn't kill any of the 20,000 other people who were spectators.
What do you mean by that, sorry?
What I mean is, if you have one thing that falsifies Trump's contention that he was not involved at all, the fact that the other 19,000 emails don't say anything on that topic really does not matter. And the White House spokesperson is grabbing at straws to find something to say to deal with this really horrible news for the White House.
I mean, the allegation of the email seems to be that it references Virginia Giuffre, so the Republicans, or the White House alleges, and she has been on the record previously, saying that she didn't have anything inappropriate in regards to President Trump.
All due respect, you're missing the point, and let me try to make it clear. The point is that up until now, Trump's line has been that Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein never had any discussion about Trump's connection to any of this. That's not true. We know that's not true now. These emails show it's not true. The fact that the person who demonstrates that's not true said that Trump didn't do anything inappropriate with her really is irrelevant to the fundamental lie that's in play here.
Okay, just very finally on this, Mitchell, where do you think this goes next? How does this play out, if you like, in terms of the legal case potentially against President Trump, or indeed about whether we get to see all of these emails actually in full?
So there is no legal case against Donald Trump. He is guaranteed that his Department of Justice will not present a case against him. The United States Supreme Court has ruled that the DOJ essentially can't go after a sitting president. So that is not a real issue. The issue is, how does this play out in the court of public opinion? And I'm not an expert on that. I will say that this has been extraordinarily corrosive to Donald Trump's standing with his core advocates in the MAGA world, and in particular, the people who have made such a big deal out of the idea of Pizzagate and that there was some vast conspiracy amongst the government to protect pedophiles. It appears that the one pedophile cover-up that is going on relates to Donald Trump.
Well, Mitchell, obviously, of course, the US president has denied any wrongdoing. And we will see how this plays out in the coming days. Certainly going to dominate the news agenda in the United States. Mitchell Epner, thank you very much indeed for joining us from New York for your
Thank you for
insight
having me.
into that.